Picture this. You walk into work, it's 2026, and you meet the new hire. Only this new hire isn't a person. It's a humanoid robot. Seriously. They're officially clocking in, jumping right out of science fiction and onto the factory floor. This isn't just a prototype anymore. We're talking about a full-fledged workforce. So what is going on here? Let's get into it. So right off the bat, you have to ask, why now? I mean, we've been hearing about robot workers for, what, decades? So what makes 2026 the magic year? What's the tipping point that finally makes this stuff a reality? Well, that's exactly what we're here to break down. And first things first, let's be clear. This isn't just companies chasing after some shiny new technology because it looks cool. Nope. The rise of the robot coworker is a direct answer to some really urgent, very real-world problems that businesses are facing, like right now. It really all boils down to 4 key pressures. You've got companies just struggling to fill jobs, the repetitive, physically draining, or even dangerous ones. They need their operations to be stable, which is just impossible when you have constant turnover. And on top of that, they're always trying to make things safer for their workers and, of course, manage their costs over the long haul. This is the problem that desperately needed a new kind of solution. And that solution? Well, it's finally here. It's arriving in the shape of a humanoid robot, a machine that is specifically designed to step right into those gaps we were just talking about. This quote just absolutely nails the moment we're in. For years and years, the big question was always a technical one. What are the physical limits of what a robot can even do? But now, in 2026, that question has completely flipped. It's become a business question. What is the immediate value a robot can add to my company, like today? And that, right there, is a massive shift in thinking. So when we say commercial deployment, what are we actually talking about? Look, this isn't some science fair project anymore. We're talking about human-shaped, autonomous machines getting plugged into real warehouses and factories as actual products. You can literally lease them like you'd lease a car, or you can just buy one outright. They're on the market. Okay, so how do these new coworkers of ours actually work? What makes them tech? Let's pop the hood for a second and take a quick look at the core tech that makes them ready for the workplace. First up, let's talk about how they get around. Most of these robots walk on 2 legs. They're bipedal. And this is a total game changer because it means they can navigate spaces that were built for people. I mean, think about it. Stairs, narrow hallways, uneven floors. Companies don't have to spend a fortune redesigning their entire facility to accommodate them. The robot just adapts to our world. But of course, a body is pretty useless without a brain. And the brain, in this case, is an incredibly powerful AI model. It's constantly crunching data from cameras and sensors, which allows the robot to literally see and understand the world around it. That's how it knows how to pick up that specific box or weave through a cluttered floor without bumping into a single thing. But how do you keep them going for a full 8-hour shift, let alone around the clock? The answer is actually pretty simple. Hot swappable batteries. One battery pack lasts about 4 to 5 hours. When it gets low, you just pop it out and slide a fresh one in, just like you would with a power drill. That means basically 0 downtime for recharging. So you put all that together, and here's what you get. These robots are built to human scale. We're talking around 5'7", maybe 150 pounds. So they can use our tools, our desks, our workstations. This design isn't random at all. It's all about one thing, fitting seamlessly into the world we've already built. Okay, so the tech is here, it's ready. But how does a company actually go from just being curious about robots to having a whole fleet of them working on the factory floor? Well, it's not a shot in the dark. There's actually a very calculated playbook for this. It usually happens in 4 steps. First, you do a needs assessment. You figure out which jobs are the best candidates for automation. Then you run a small pilot program, maybe with just 5 or 10 robots, to test them out in a real setting. If that goes well, you figure out the money. And finally, you move to full integration, which is huge, because that's where you update safety rules and train the human staff on how to work side by side with their new robot coworkers. And that financial step is really fascinating. A company can make a massive capital investment and just buy the robots. Or they can use this model called Robot as a Service, or RAI as for short. Basically, it's a monthly subscription. The best way to think about it is like hiring a temp worker. This brings the financial risk way, way down, and it makes the tech a lot more accessible for more companies. So let's say the robots are hired. They're on the floor, they're doing their jobs. What happens next? This isn't just a simple one-for-one replacement. Their arrival creates these huge ripple effects that actually start to change the very nature of work for everyone. And this, right here, really gets to the heart of how things change for human workers. Your role shifts from being a manual laborer to becoming something more like a robot wrangler. You're not just focused on a single task anymore. You're focused on the whole system. You're supervising the robots, you're handling the tricky problems they can't solve, and you're making sure the quality is there. The job becomes so much less about physical strain and so much more about technical oversight. Now, it is absolutely crucial that we get real here for a minute. This technology is exciting, for sure, but it is not a magic bullet. In 2026, there are still some very real, very significant limitations and risks that come with putting a robot on your payroll. Let's just start with the price tag. A single one of these robots can set you back anywhere from $30,000 to $150,000. That is a massive upfront cost, especially if you're a smaller business, and it is still a major, major barrier to adoption. And beyond the cost, you've got other hurdles. That short battery life we talked about, it sounds great, but it means you need a whole complex system for swapping and charging them constantly. These robots also still aren't great with true, unexpected chaos. A messy, cluttered warehouse floor can still trip them up. And maybe the most important challenge of all is social friction. You know, the very real, very valid concerns that human workers have about their own job security. That has to be managed really, really carefully. And all of that brings us to the final and most important question. The direction we're heading is clear. Robots are going to keep taking over more and more of the physical, repetitive jobs. The real challenge for us isn't about trying to stop that from happening, it's about adapting to it. So as these machines handle the work of yesterday, the biggest question we need to be asking ourselves is this: what new, more human work will we create for ourselves tomorrow?